Welcome back to World Drum Club. I am Kalani Dawson. This is another episode of Facilitation Fridays. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the word drum circle and what it means and what it doesn't mean and what you can do as a music facilitator, drummer, percussionist, especially if you're working in music education or music therapy, because I think it's important to know the definitions, how to use the term correctly, and avoid using it incorrectly because it can cause a lot of confusion.
World Drum Club.
All right, so we're all familiar with this term drum circle. And I've been around since before this term was even popularized back in the early 1990s. Been doing drumming since the 70s, basically. And I've seen this whole thing kind of explode, largely due to marketing by drum companies, but also organizations like the Percussive Arts Society, the National Association of Music Merchants, or NAMM, to promote community music making. And that's a great thing. Community music making is a great thing. Drum circles are fun, and I'm going to say this right now. I like drum circles. There's nothing wrong with drum circles. They're fun, or they can be fun. Perfectly fine. People have been doing drum circles since the mid-'60s, in parks and places. And now we have a movement that is trying to formalize, drum circles and take them into different areas and things. Mostly fine, sometimes not so fine. But that's all good stuff. No problem with that. So my goal in this talk right now, and I know some of you are going to disagree with some of the things I'm going to say, but I want you to know that I'm speaking with an idea, with a view to helping everybody do a better job at defining what they're doing and not misrepresenting things like drum circles or other types of group drumming, because I just think if we use the right definitions, it gets us a little closer to understanding what it is, what it's for, what its strengths are, what its potential weaknesses are, and it gives you, a better idea of the types of drumming you could take into different situations, or you can recommend for different situations, and do a better job with whatever you do. One of the things, so I'm gonna give you a couple Mythbuster tips right now. So one of the phrases I've heard is that people have been doing drum circles for thousands of years, or this is one of the phrases I hear people say, or that I've seen this on websites. Like people will say, people have been doing drum circles in Africa for thousands of years. And, that is just absolutely not true. One, because the word drum circle didn't exist in Africa, still doesn't. It's an English word. It's an American term that was created to describe a group of regular citizens, regular people, non-professionals usually, that just get together and jam in public settings, sometimes in people's homes. But the idea is that anybody can come, with any instrument, usually it's drums, but sometimes it can be other things, and just get together in a casual way and improvise music together and just rock out, have fun. It's just it's really like folk music for people that don't play mandolin and guitar or fiddle or washtub bass. It's a drum jam hootenanny, that's what it is, drum circle, right? So we usually see these in, like in the park or at the beach or at a rainbow tribe gathering, or in the parking lot of a Grateful Dead concert, before, during, and after the concert. Drum circle, right? That's the classic definition. So even the drum circle gurus would agree that the idea of a drum circle is people get together, improvise music, play, have fun, create something of, a community value, like a feeling of community and fun. And that's basically it. It's not that complicated. So when people say people in Africa have been doing drum circles for thousands of years, it's just not true. People in Africa, like the drummers in Africa, there's just the drummers are doing the drumming. Not everybody in the village is doing the drumming. And it was always, professionally done for services by the drummers, which there would be maybe 2 or 3 in a village. They didn't have the kind of time, they didn't have the luxury to sit around, and just rock out, just jam on drums around a fire. That's not what they were doing. So again, this is a little bit of a misconception. when people, and I have some music teachers that'll ask me about, they'll say like, well, I want to do a drum circle, but I want to teach this and this and this, right, in the drum circle. Or they'll say, well, I want to do drum circles, but I want to structure it like this and this and this. And I immediately think, well, okay, if you want to do a drum circle, but you want to structure it, or you want to form, or you want to teach something, then you don't want to do a drum circle. That's not what a drum circle is. So I'm telling you this because I want you to use the correct word. Maybe I think what they're saying is they want to do some kind of group drumming that meets some sort of goals and has some sort of developmental component or structural component. Because of course, in a school, you want to teach music, right? You're there as a music teacher, so you need that. So I think a lot of the time, what people say is they maybe think, oh, because they've heard the word drum circle, they just automatically think that the term drum circle is a synonym for group drumming, right? Any kind of drumming in a group. That's not the case. Drum circle is a type of group drumming, but if you think about the umbrella term, that's group drumming. Drum circle is one of those. Drum ensemble is another one, like traditional drumming. Compositions with drums, like Orff or other kinds of approaches to music education. You might compose a piece of music using drums. That's another thing you can do. A rhythm game or activity using drums. That's another category. So there's lots of different subcategories of group drumming. Group drumming and drum circle they're not the same. So I think that's one mistake, because I always like to clarify, well, what is it that you want to see happening in this group drumming experience? And then they'll explain it to me, and then I can say, okay, so it sounds like what you want to do is do a rhythm game, or you want to do a drum ensemble, or you want to have some sort of guided interactive drumming experience, not necessarily do a drum circle. And I agree with that, because you need to have a certain amount of skill to be able to improvise and play an instrument. Teachers that ask me, well, I've got this kindergarten class and I want them doing drum circles. And kindergartners really, they don't do drum circles. It's not in their culture. They're not just going to go up and jam. I mean, they can do drumming, but they need a lot more guidance usually. They need instruction. So really like a little drum ensemble or some sort of instructional or guided drumming experience would be more appropriate and probably a better choice than to say, I want a drum circle. But again, I think it's a matter of people just hearing the word drum circle and thinking that it means group drumming, which again, no. Okay, and I know some of you might disagree with that, because some people, and I've heard some people say this, new people that are kind of new to the genre, will say, well, why can't it be that that's like the original kind of drum circle, but the new drum circles, people do a lot more, right? And what I would say to that is that first of all, I disagree with that, because just making a drum circle more structured and doing like games and things and kind of shoving all of those things into the label of the drum circle doesn't make a new kind of drum circle. It's actually just taking the label and changing it to something else. You're changing your experience to something else and just keeping the same label, right? Does that make sense? So if I take a pizza and I fold it into, a taco shape, I don't have a taco. I still have a pizza. It's just folded into a taco. So I don't know if that even makes sense. But no, you don't take a drum circle and turn it into a rhythm game and still call it a drum circle. And some people say, well, it's a drum circle game. And I'm like, again, no, because a game, it has rules, it's structured, you have to teach it, you have to show people there's very specific ways you play games. That's why they're games, right? Basketball is totally different than football or soccer, American football. And they have different rules. It's a different game. Yeah, they're both played with a ball about this big. Totally different games. So, just calling one the other doesn't really make any sense. And you can go out and play. This is a better example. You can take a ball and just have a group of people and play with the ball. Kick it around, throw it, whatever. I mean, do whatever. You can just play with a ball with 10 people. And that's fine. And that's kind of like a drum circle, right? And maybe during that process, things will happen and things will change and it'll morph and you'll have fun and you'll play with the ball. And that is a great example of a drum circle. That's not basketball just because you take that and put it on a basketball court. Or if you start playing basketball, then it's no longer a drum circle. It's not, ball play basketball or drum circle game or what does that? Am I making sense? So if it's a musical game or rhythm game, it's a rhythm game. If it's a drum circle, it's improvised. So I even want to push back on the idea that a facilitated drum circle is like the original drum circle. I think a facilitated drum circle is a little bit like the original drum circle, but it's also a lot more like guided interactive drumming or just conducted. It's very much like telling people what to do. So I don't even know how much like an original drum circle that is. I've been in drum circles where I've felt very limited, by somebody that gets up and conducts, tells me when to play, how fast to play, rhythm, gives me specific rhythms to then play back to that person. And I realize that there can be different levels of autonomy with the people and different levels of leadership. And maybe the ultimate goal is to get to the point where everybody's actually doing a regular drum circle, like just improvising. But then what's the reason for all of the controlling kind of, behavior of leading and making everybody watch one person? I don't know. That's a discussion for another day, but I'm just going to throw that out there right now. I think if we're going to do drum circles, let's just do drum circles and let's keep the definition original and not try to place it on top of a lot of other things like traditional West African drumming or African drumming and say that's what they were doing, or put it on top of drumming ensembles. Obviously, a drum ensemble is not a drum circle. Or rhythm games, a game is not a free-form improvised drumming experience. So the more we do that, the more we just call everything a drum circle, two things happen. One is nobody knows what a drum circle is anymore because we've used that label for everything, and now it means nothing. And that, I think, is kind of sad. Two, nobody knows what those things are anymore because everybody's calling everything a drum circle. So we've lost, on both ends of that deal, we're losing. We're losing information. We're losing our ability to define what it is that we're doing and to make good choices about the types of drumming experiences that we are going to engage, right? So if a drum circle is the right tool, is the right choice for a certain group of people or a certain occasion, great. I want to know that, and I want everybody to be on the same page as to what a drum circle is. If they're asking me to do a drum circle, now, these days, I have to ask a lot of qualifying questions because I don't know what they think a drum circle is because it's been so widely marketed and there's so many people telling everybody that it's this and it's this and it's this. Nobody knows. It's really difficult. So call me old school, call me old fashioned, but I'm for the original definition and then using different terms to label all the different types of drumming experiences. Okay, I hope this makes sense. I know this was kind of a rant, I'm not going to lie, but it's important for you as a facilitator to understand definitions, understand the strengths of different types of experiences, what's required, what your client or your students might benefit from or what they want, what people are requesting. All of these questions, all these factors that go into providing services or just your own education as a musician or facilitator, that's what I'm trying to help with, all right, in these episodes of Facilitation Friday. So if you're interested in learning more, a nice video that uses a musical approach to drum circle facilitation is The Drum Circle, A Musical Approach by this guy. And you can get that. I'll leave a link below. And you can also join my email list if you want to get more personalized information and some instruction and some other resources, go to kalanimusic.com and join. Or you can text the word drum to 66866 in the US and join that way. And if you haven't already, and I know I keep saying this, but I'm going to say it every single time because I do appreciate the supporters of the channel, and I want you to feel free to support if you feel supported. So if you feel like I'm supporting you and you want to give some support back, keep the love circle moving, you can go to patreon.com/Kalani and sign up there and leave a little tip. You know, it's a little tip money for the videos that I'm posting. For us all in the World Drum Club community and beyond, thanks for watching. Leave your kind comments below. I'm Kalani. I'll see you in the next video.